You're listening to audio from the Decidedly podcast. For more information, find us on Instagram at Decidedly Podcast.
Do you remember when Jeremy came into town back in, what was it, April? It was several months ago.
Mm-hmm.
So he came in town and he was staying downtown, and I had to go pick him up for the event that night. And he was staying over the next day. And so he and I were talking, and he really wanted to play while he was here. I don't think I told you this. He wanted to play at Colonial.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about
PGA
that.
course, right? And so he's like, I'd really love to play that. It's a really well-known course. And I was like, okay, well, who do I know that is a member there?
Mm-hmm.
And, who can I call that is in town and can take the day off tomorrow and take Jeremy? I couldn't go, so I had to really kind of pull some strings. And I'm going through all this, and I finally just turned to Jeremy and I said, can't I just take you to the municipal course and tell you it's Colonial? I mean, you can't see it at all. Why are we going through?
What does it matter, man?
What does it matter? He started laughing. At least he appreciated that.
He found humor in the joke. At least
he did, I guess.
Yeah, that would be a big bummer, because 90% of the enjoyment of going and playing golf, when you're as bad as I am, is that you're out in nature and it's pretty and the grass is green.
Oh, yeah, some of the most beautiful places in the in the world are on golf courses.
Are on golf courses. It's not. I mean, I barely am there to play golf.
Oh yeah,
I'm mostly there because it's an excuse to go for a walk through the park.
Oh, that resort where we were staying, where you just did the triathlon in Hawaii. So we were on the Big Island in Kona.
Yeah.
Staying in Kona. And there's a resort. It's right on the beach, and there's a golf course, of course, right on the beach. And so you guys had to go through that, but it's just beautiful. I mean, it's right there on the waves, and I mean, it's just immaculate.
Yeah. Running that course, I was thinking, geez, I want to play golf tomorrow. Gosh, I can't. I want to come out here and play golf.
Yeah.
And it was like I had no illusion of really playing golf well.
No.
It was just that you get to be in this beautiful area.
Yeah, with the wind in your face and the ocean. Yeah.
Today's guest on the podcast is Jeremy Poincenot. He lost his sight at the age of 19 as a college student, and only a year and a half later, he became the 2010 World Blind Golf Champion. He has since won 2 more world and 8 national blind golf championships. He spends his time now focusing on inspiring people around the world by sharing his story as an inspirational speaker, workshop facilitator, and performance coach. He's been featured on ABC's 2020, CNN, MTV's True Life, and ESPN. We talked with Jeremy about the process of grief that he had to overcome when he lost his sight as an adult, deciding to play professional golf as a blind person, the ways that his blindness can limit environmental distractions, how true excellent performance comes by and through risk management and the adaptation to change. I learned a lot. We both, Sean and I, had some new insights in this conversation. I know that you will too. So sit back, enjoy our conversation with Jeremy Poincenot. I'm Sanger Smith with my dad, Sean Smith, and this is Decidedly. Jeremy, I cannot forgive you for giving Sean golf tips that actually work.
Well, I heard it works for you too, Sanger, so you got to kind of fill me in. Have you guys hold any more shots since I saw you last?
Oh, yeah. Only when we actually listen to what you said, okay? Because then every now and then we'll get out there on the course. We golf around once a week, and I'll be out there, but, well, I'm going to try this out. Well,
I'm going to try what Jeremy taught me. Yeah.
And every single time it's 60-yard chip in.
Good. I
to
think that's
save
amazing.
Double bogey.
Hey, but you hold it. I mean, Sean sent me the video a week after I saw you guys.
Double bogey.
Sean holed out.
To avoided the triple.
Hey,
we actually played... I think we played 13 holes before either of us lost a ball, which was a major.
And that's a huge, I felt like tour ready after that, Jeremy. I was like, I didn't lose my ball. That's a measure of success for Sean and me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Sanger, I don't think you're getting a tour card anytime soon or money offered from Liv. Sorry, bud.
No, but see, the money that I'm saving by not buying a new box of like Pro V1s every single week, evens out. I think
it was a big accomplishment.
Yeah.
Jeremy's not impressed by that at all, but he has no idea.
In our world, that I might as well be an elite athlete.
I'll smile and nod, but I'm not that impressed, Sanger. Sorry, but yeah.
Immediately not impressed.
He's not impressed at all. No, Jeremy was teaching me. Yeah. So Jeremy was showing me how to chip in by kind of facing the hole rather than with perpendicular to it, and it worked for me. So it was
well, you got to explain that better. What did I teach you exactly? Because I didn't teach. What are you doing?
You
like, what do you mean you're facing the hole? People are going to hear this and go, wait, what did he say?
Yeah, you may not want credit for this after all. You taught me to, rather than if I'm chipping, rather than sort of swinging with my shoulder towards the hole, sort of looking, kind of perpendicular to the hole. You taught me to kind of like face onto it, and I had the club at my side rather than front of me, and chipped in that way.
Okay. Yeah, maybe, I hear what you're saying.
Maybe you told me it was okay and you just didn't see what I was doing.
Oh man, I hate to say that, but no, I saw what you were doing. I think I wanted you to set up a little bit more open and have the face a little open, and then you kind of work that way, and
that was it.
And it works. And if you can just have like a good, chipping is all about rhythm, and golf is all about rhythm and tempo. And if you have a good 1-2, you'll hit many good shots.
Talking about decision making, Sanger and I were talking about club selection and all this when we were playing golf, and it almost doesn't matter what club we select on our decision making in golf. As
we're so bad,
we're so we're so horrible. We don't need to make good decisions with club selection because it really doesn't matter. It's the kind of quality golf we're playing.
Man, but I think the exact opposite is true if you're like a high caliber golfer. Like your decision making and your intention and your commitment to that intention is so important.
Well, I was going to ask you what percent of playing golf is decision making at the appropriate level, not at our level, not at my level. But when you start to get really good at it, how much of that is skill versus decision making?
Oh my gosh. Well, you need to have the skill to get to be a single digit handicap golfer, a scratch golfer. But when you're at that caliber, when you're at that level of a golfer, the decision making is so important. And then the decisions become, okay, am I going to hit a knockdown shot and flight it lower and have less spin? Or am I going to play a higher shot with more spin? Is the pin in the front, so I want it to spin, or is the pin in the back and I don't want it to spin? There's so many variables to take into consideration: wind, club selection, shot shape, things of those nature, that when you do get to that caliber, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm inundated with decisions to make. And you make the right one and you look like a pro. You make the wrong one, you look like Sanger.
And nobody wants that.
Nobody wants that.
Yeah.
No, we all know that.
You've been golfing basically your whole life, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, grew up playing the game.
Yeah, and you kind of played with your dad too.
Yeah, my dad worked in the golf industry for 30 years. He came out here from France, worked at TaylorMade Golf for 10 years, Cleveland Golf for 10 years, Callaway for 10 years, and Titleist for a little bit. But I grew up playing with my dad every Sunday from when I was 12 till I was 17. And that was our bonding time, our ritual. And I'm 32 now, and my dad and I played yesterday.
And I'm assuming the instruction that you were getting is a little bit different than what I was getting.
Yeah. My dad has never been my main instructor by any means, because he's not a golf pro or anything. Like, he's a good player, but I always have a golf pro to go to for instruction. My dad will give me little tips here and there, and definitely helps me out with some little chipping things and things he notices because he's with me on every shot. But I try to have my instruction come from someone other than him, so it's not all from him. I want him to be my guide, not my instructor.
Okay, tell me about the difference between those two.
Well, so being a blind golfer and being
Guide
legally
versus
blind,
instructor.
right. So being legally blind and being a blind golfer, like my dad is my guide, so he helps me on every single shot. So he's telling me the hole, what par it is, the length, anything we need to know about. What do we want to hit off of the tee, driver, 3-wood, hybrid, long iron, whatever. We'll discuss those things. So he's my guide. He's helping me out on every single shot. He's helping me, and he's a part of our decision making together. So he's helping me with all of that. When it comes to instruction, who's looking at my golf swing, being technical with how I go about my swing, my chipping, my putting, things like that. I want it to come from a PGA professional who knows what they're talking about, who has the experience, who has the education behind all of that. Because I don't, my dad's with me for every single shot, and it's tense and it's competitive. I don't want him to also say, yeah, I really noticed this with your swing. That doesn't go well.
Yeah. Okay. So does it not go well because it disrupts the dynamics of the relationship, or for another reason?
I think it disrupts the dynamics of the relationship. I think it's something that I want us to stay as positive as humanly possible on the course. And in golf, you're never going to hit every shot well. So when something goes awry, or you hit a ball OB, or in a penalty area, or you miss a short putt, I don't want my dad to try to get technical with me. Like, I'm not good at being under competitive pressure and then getting technical. I want to be comfortable, confident.
It seems like
think about things.
It seems like that would even be the wrong time to get technical.
100%.
It can't go off and take 100 practice swings before the next hole.
Yeah, and I don't really want to be going into the next hole thinking, man, if I really do this on the downswing, that's going to be. I feel like that's the beginning of the end if I start doing that.
So, how long were you golfing before you realized that you were good at it?
Years. I mean, I definitely, like, for a couple of years was playing and was like, oh, this is cool. Like, it's something I can do with my dad. It's something I could do with my mom. It's something I can do with friends. And then when I got into middle school, we had a middle school golf team, and I joined the team and was like, okay, like I'm decent. And then when I got into high school, was on the JV team freshman year. So I felt good, but not great. And then sophomore year, I made the varsity team and was like, okay, I'm shooting, in the 30s in 9 holes now. Like, I'm good. But yeah, so that's I would say kind of sophomore year of high school is when I felt like I was good. But then I think my junior year of high school, I played in a tournament with Ricky Fowler where he was in the tournament. And yeah, I knew I was not going to play D1 college golf. Like, the quality of golf in San Diego, California is pretty high. Like, there's some really good golfers out here.
And when did you lose sight or begin to notice you were losing your sight?
Yeah, it was my sophomore year of college at San Diego State University. I was walking around on campus with a group of friends, noticed I had to squint to read a sign, and thought, okay, I've got roommates and fraternity brothers who wear glasses. Like, I guess it's my time. And over a period of a couple months, my vision drastically deteriorated. And essentially, I had no central vision in my right eye at the time. That's what caused me to squint. And a couple months later, my left eye lost central vision as well, and rendered me legally blind, which I've now been legally blind for over 13 years now.
So how did you deal with that, as at that point, and what made you decide you're going to still pursue golf? I mean, that would be probably the least of my concerns if I'm dealing with that.
100%. It was the least of my concerns. I wasn't thinking golf at all. I was in the prime of my life. Everything was going great. I'm 19 years old. I'm in a fraternity. I'm at a great college. Everything's awesome. And then all of a sudden, in a few months, I'm legally blind. And being, for me, what legal blindness means is I have no central vision. So I tell people, if they put one hand on top of the other, put it in front of their face and look around a little bit, that's what my sight's like all the time. I have complete peripheral vision, but I've got nothing in the middle. And I had to go through the stages of grief, right? Denial. I denied that what had happened had actually happened. I went to anger, which is very real. I then went to bargaining. I pleaded. I said, please, whatever I need to do to make things go back to the way they were, I'll do it. When they didn't, I fell into depression, which I think has a stigma behind it. But I went and saw a blind psychologist for a year and a half. And then I finally reached the fifth stage, which is acceptance. But research says it takes on average 2 years to go from a traumatic life experience to reaching acceptance. And I would say it took maybe a little less time than that for me, but you also don't reach acceptance and then never visit one of the first 4 stages. So kind of had to go through those. And my mom introduced me to blind golf and found out on the internet that there's blind golf, there's tournaments all over the world. And she thought it was going to be perfect for me. And when she presented it to me, I was not interested at all. I thought she was kidding, because I had an expectation level of how I could perform as a sighted golfer, and I didn't want to embarrass myself as a blind golfer, and so I wasn't really interested for a period of time.
What did the psychologist tell you? I mean, what did they share with you about how to deal with it?
Yeah, he was great because being a blind psychologist, he was totally blind. So he could empathize where my friends and my family could sympathize. It's like, oh, I couldn't imagine. That's got to be tough. And when a friend of mine said, well, at least you still have some sight, I'm like, you're not wrong. But I also, you kind of don't really know what you're talking about. It was hard to take that from somebody. Like, they had good intentions, but when you hear that, and you're all of a sudden legally blind, you're like not willing to hear that from certain people. So talking to a psychologist,
I would bet that anyone that couldn't really share a personal experience with you, it is almost like unlistenable. Like, shut up, you don't know.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. As long as the intentions are good, like I'm listening, but at that time when it's so raw and so new, it's so hard to like have a smile on and be like, yeah, you're totally right, man. Thank you. But the blind psychologist was great because he was totally blind. And as I'm talking to him and he allowed me to vent, which was really nice. And I would complain about things, but here I would kind of look at him and see him as someone who's totally blind and is a professional. He's a professional psychologist. He has a wife, he has children. And I was just like, huh, if this guy's totally blind and can have a wife and children and a family and a career, like I'm 19 years old and legally blind, like I can still live a good life. So I thought he just embodied something that made me feel good, that my life and my world wasn't over.
It's so important being seen, no pun intended,
no, it's true.
Being
right.
witnessed, right? Saying, oh, wow, this person, they can kind of really see me for who I am, in a way that nobody else can. Nobody else can empathize with our unique specific issues sometimes. And I know I didn't really think too much about what it would be like to be blind before I met and talked with you. Like, geez, I can't even imagine. I mean, Jeremy's sitting here creating a picture for me and I still have no idea. I still can't really imagine what I would react, what my reaction would be, how I would operate day to day. And so I can only imagine being 19 and having other people who nothing's gone wrong tell you.
I can imagine that would be really helpful to talk with that person, because I remember when we all had dinner together and we went through an experience where we had dinner and they shut all the blinds. We put blindfolds, on, and we were all eating without seeing a single thing.
Mm-hmm.
And there was such a temptation to lift up that blindfold, to cheat at it, to peek and go, oh, well, what is this? I can't get this on my fork. Let me.
Let me just get it. I've been digging at this little potato for 5 minutes.
Yeah, let me just peek.
I'll just look real quick, grab it, and move on.
Right. And to not be able to scratch that itch, to not be able to do that, must have had a level of frustration. I don't even know. I didn't even talk to you about your experience during that dinner, because you had the blindfold on just like I did, and you lost peripheral sight, which I would imagine you rely on tremendously, kind of move around and see things. How was that experience for you?
Well, still one of the best dinners I've had this year, like one of the best meals. Food was dang good.
Thanks to John Bonnell. Yeah.
Yeah, that was such good food. So that was phenomenal. And then, yeah, it was an uncomfortable experience even for me, because I'm in this middle world, right? I have a foot in the blind world and a foot in the sighted world, but I'm not fully in either. So to strip me from my peripheral vision, I was uncomfortable as well. I was having to try things, do new things, and be in an uncomfortable position. But yeah, and I think that's the interesting part, is like, you guys and even I can take that blindfold off and go back to what I know and what I'm used to. And that's the difference, is the challenges of people who are totally blind don't have that luxury.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the interesting things to me when we were having that meal was how people really like felt in the social setting, felt a lot more pronounced, I would say, in their natural modes. So like the extroverted people that we were with, they were dominating the conversation, and I didn't say anything.
Yeah,
I
I'm
was
not
so
sure you were
quiet.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
right.
but that was a function of everyone being blind. I can only imagine being someone who is not super comfortable in large crowds, being blind, and having to deal with people. Like, I get what I noticed when I was silent was that the reason I was silent was nobody was pulling me in, right? They couldn't see me.
Right.
They couldn't see me and I couldn't see them. So I had even fewer tools than I normally have to be able to connect. And when I have all of those tools, I don't connect.
Yeah. You didn't have to nod your head or look at who was speaking.
There was
I was
listening.
Yeah.
I was paying attention, but I wasn't going to jump in. Being blind in that moment, I don't know. What was that experience like for you, adjusting to just a social group where
knowing that everybody couldn't see you either? Right.
Well, yeah.
I'm saying when you lost your sight and people can see you, and you're like, oh geez, how do I interact?
Yeah, it's difficult, and it's something that you gotta get okay with dealing with awkward situations and not get too freaked out, nervous, and uncomfortable with them. You just got to know that they're going to happen, and you got to be able to laugh it off. It took me years to be comfortable with that, but even now, when we're in this COVID world where we had to be separated by at least 6 feet, and so I would do backyard hangouts with groups of friends, and someone would say, "Hey, how was your weekend?" And I'm like, "Are you talking to me?" Like I don't have, like, if I'm 2 feet, 3 feet from you having just a normal conversation, I know when you're looking at me and talking to me. But if there's 8 people at a circular table and someone says, "Hey, how was your weekend?" and they're looking directly at me, if I can't tell that they're looking at me, I wait a little bit, and then I might say, "Wait, you're asking me?" And then they're like, "Yeah." And then I kind of have this mental gymnastics of, "Oh God, like I hope they don't, think I was being rude or something." But yeah, it's difficult because I also, quote unquote, look sighted, right? I put this central blur on people's eyes and make them feel as comfortable as humanly possible, even though they're blurred out to me. But that's what is also interesting. I'm kind of incognito with this. I don't use a guide dog or a cane, so I don't look blind when I'm out in public. So it's pretty interesting.
What were some of the decisions you were faced with when you came to the realization that you were legally blind? I mean, what changed in your life other than the sight? I mean, what did you have to deal with?
Well, I was in college at the time, and so a big decision was whether or not I go back to school or if I drop out. And there's so many people who are successful dropouts out there that I just thought I could take the easy way out of this, drop out of college, and just kind of do whatever at home, sulk, complain about this whole thing. And I really wanted to, but I didn't. And I could have easily just kind of stayed in this pity party of woe is me, why did this happen, and just have a lot of philosophical questions that you don't have answers to, but you could wallow in that for a long time. But someone told me something once that has resonated with me, and they said that you're allowed to visit the poor me house, but you aren't allowed to move in. And I thought that was really powerful, because there's a lot of times we go through difficult situations in business and in life, and we want to, like, we see TV shows and movies where people just immediately like, I'm okay, everything's going to be okay, and they move forward, but that's not reality. And you need to be bummed out for a period of time, and whatever that duration is up to you, but you can't move into that. You have to move forward. And I thought that was really meaningful, something that I still remember to this day. I still think about, something I try to share with others. And if someone's newly diagnosed with this condition I have, LHON, I tell them that, like, you're allowed to visit the Poor Me House, you're allowed to go there, spend time, but just don't move in, and I'll be there to help you get out of it. And there is a brighter future. They might not see it, pun intended, but there is. And I think those are some of the decisions that I had to deal with and see what I was going to do, I guess.
The decision to move in and start playing blind golf, your mom introduced you to that. Now, when did you win that tournament that you were telling me about?
Yeah, so I think my dad worked at Callaway at the time. Before I had lost my sight, he had gotten me a new set of irons. Then I lost my sight like October, November. And then he goes, okay, he has this difficult question. Do I give him the irons or do I not? He's like, you know what, for Christmas, he's like, I'm going to give him the irons, whatever. And he gave them to me, and I thought it was a sick joke, and I wasn't really happy about it. Like, if I was fully sighted, I'd be elated. I'd be ready to go play him the next day. But I was just like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Like, I felt like he was dangling a carrot in front of a guy who couldn't see the carrot. But I was just like, oh man. So I want to say in early January, I finally said, hey, you know what, Dad, I'll go to the driving range with you. I'll hit some balls. Like, I can't really embarrass myself too much at the range. Like, people aren't following me, watching me. I'm not slowing up play. Like, I'm at the range. Right. So I said, I'll go with you. And I said, if I swing and miss, if I miss a shot, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore.
Just completely whiff the ball.
If I completely whiff the ball, I'm done. Which is a thing in blind golf. You hear it. Maybe other folks do it. If you do that, we call that
maybe
fish.
Other folks do it.
Maybe other folks do that. Sighted folks do that. And we call that fish. It's an acronym, stands for F. It's still here. That's definitely a thing. But I went to the driving range with my dad in January. I hit shots and I didn't miss any. Didn't fish it. So I was like, okay, you know what? This is okay. I think after a week or so, I said, if you want to go to the course, I'll play with you. And so we did, and I hit some good shots. Didn't score well at all, but I was just like, okay, like there's a path here. And I think we played in a tournament in October of that year, and we played in one, I think, in August, and then one in October, and then the following August, we competed in our first World Blind Golf Championship in England. Out of 60 competitors from 14 different countries, we were in a playoff to win, and we ended up chipping in the playoff to win the World Championship together as a team.
That's so cool. That is so cool.
It was amazing.
Walk me through how that happens. So as a blind golfer, obviously you can't see the distance, you can't see the pin, or even the direction. How is that? What are the mechanics of how that's happening? Just kind of walk through that.
So which shot do you want me to talk through? Like a full shot off the tee, a chip shot, a putt?
Well, I remember when you and I were hitting a few, right?
Yeah.
And you said, tell me sort of where the flag is and how far it is out, right?
Yeah.
And I remember saying, okay, well, there's the first flag is about 185 yards, and then there's the other, it's in front of that other one that's about 200 yards. And you said, Sean, if I could see the flags, I wouldn't need your help. And so you had me sort of, on this drive, kind of point in the right direction and kind of give some, move a little left, move a little right, that kind of thing. And so I think it would seem like the drive is probably the easiest shot, because somebody can you can kind of give it all you got, I guess. Somebody can give you a distance and direction, but what are the mechanics of how you go from there?
Yeah. So I think anybody who knows anything about golf could really guide me right off the bat. And I just tell them how to do it on the first hole. And I agree, if I'm driving it well, then it's just like, hey, point me 5 yards left of center, and hopefully I put a little 5-yard cut on it to the middle of the fairway. And what they do is just look at my feet, and it's like a video game. When I step over the ball, I can see the ball down there with my periphery. I'm looking a little above it, but they tell me with my feet to go left or right. And then when they say good, I pull the trigger and hit the shot. But yeah, from there, it's a lot of communication. It's okay. Now let's say we're in the fairway. We hit a good drive and we have 160 yards. Okay. Is it 160 yards to a middle flag? No wind? Okay. For me, that's a stock 8-iron. So same thing as the driver. I'll pull the 8-iron, do a practice swing, point me in the direction. And same thing with the feet, say go left or right. And then I hit the shot. And then we kind of deal with it from there. If I miss the green, we have a chip shot. If I hit the green, we have a putt. And again, a lot of communication as to where it is. When I get closer to the hole, if I'm, let's say, inside 20, 25 yards, I'll walk it from my ball to the hole to really get a feel of the distance, to see where
Just
the flag is. Yeah. So if it's 20 yards, I'll walk it and feel it.
Jeremy, does this prove this exercise? You find the ball. Yeah, we're 20 yards away. You're going to walk, step to the pin, and then turn around, step back, and just kind of feel how things are. That means that stepping on someone's line is like not worth getting mad about, right?
I avoid people's lines.
I mean, you're doing it to your own line.
Yeah, I'm doing it to my own line, but if I'm doing it to my own line and I chip it, but because I walked it off, I chip it to 4 feet rather than if I don't walk it off, I chip it to 15 feet because I wasn't fully aware of the situation. I'll take a 4-foot putt with a little bit of my footprints on it than a 15-footer with no footprints.
All right, fair enough. Fair
Debunked.
enough. What's interesting to hear you talk about is, you always talk about like you and your dad as a team.
For sure.
You give the team credit. You give the team the team fails, the team wins. How do you? I would imagine that you kind of figured out this team dynamic together as a team, instead of what I mean by that is there's not like, or maybe I'm wrong, a traditional approach on how blind golfers and guides work together and what decisions they make as a team.
Yeah, really well said. I definitely agree with that. I think if you go to a blind golf tournament, each team of blind golfer and guide do things differently. And my dad and I have kind of worked it out to do it the way we do it. And we do it differently now than we did it 12 years ago. There's little things that he used to do that, he used to point and say the fairway goes from here to here. Then there's a bunker on the right side here. And then right of the bunker is water. And, I'm not visually distracted by anything. So it's all about my thoughts. And if I have it in my head that right of the fairway is a bunker and right of that is water, that's all I'm thinking about over the tee. So
yeah,
we've kind of honed in, like, I don't need to know that. So I literally just say, hey, point me in the direction. Let's hit the shot. If there's something I need to know, like, hey, you need to hit this over 200 yards. Okay. That's helpful for me to know that it's better to be long than short. So we've definitely honed in a teamwork chemistry that works for the two of us. And we're always improvising. We're always changing. Nothing's in cement. It's very fluid, and each turn that we try new things.
It was really interesting. You intentionally want to be unaware of risks or dangers that aren't helpful. And
yeah, I mean,
that's easy. Like, to think that's really easy to do. I mean, because I would have done that too. Like, oh, there's water over there. And
watch out for the lake or whatever. Yeah.
There's big sand trap over there. Whatever. Not necessary. It's kind of like the pink elephant. Try to not think of a pink elephant. Now all I can do is
everybody's
think about this pink elephant.
100%.
When Sean and I golf, anytime we acknowledge that we're doing well, like, oh man, I haven't hit one in the water all day. The next one, I mean, it's going in the water because now I'm thinking about the water.
When we play, I intentionally tell Sanger about those things. Watch out for the water over there. Don't let those guys behind us distract you. Cause we do need to hurry, but don't make that, don't feel rushed.
As any competitor
I think that can apply to,
Yes.
Can apply to so many areas of life, though. You know, what do I really need to know? Do I need to know all the ways that this could go wrong?
Right.
Or maybe there's some ways that it could go wrong that aren't going to help me make a decision right now.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of paralysis by analysis.
That can happen in personal life.
Yeah. I think I don't want to know all the trouble, all the danger, because if I do, I think it's not going to allow me to hit the best shot that I can. If I have my mind cluttered with stuff that isn't going to help me, what's the point?
How long was it till you figured that out? Because that would seem like a natural thing. If I'm describing a hole to you, you know, here's where the bunker, here's the water, here's the tree. Did you feel that right off the bat that it was more helpful for you to have that focus sort of imposed on you by virtue of not having all these distractions, or did that come about later?
It came about later. I mean, I would say we played in those first 3 tournaments where my dad would explain everything. And then maybe we started playing some courses in Florida where there was a ton of water. And it was like, you know what? I'm just not feeling comfortable over my shots. And I think the reason for that is because I have way too much information. When I know there's water left, water right, and a very tight fairway, like, how do I put a confident swing on this? So I think it was, after a period of time, we were like, you know what, let's go with this idea for a while of not telling me everything. And we've been doing it for over a decade now.
The team dynamics, like I was saying earlier, that's got to be, it sounds like it works really, really well. What were the decisions that y'all had to make to figure out how to work together, you know, beyond not talking about the water? Like who makes the decision? I mean, if you're talking about I think this is a 7-iron shot here, and your dad says, nah, you know, I think you need an 8-iron after you've all given the information.
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, that is a good question. It's something that if he has a disagreement or doesn't agree with what I think, he needs to have some pretty strong evidence to believe that if I'm ready to go, or if I feel comfortable with the shot. If he's going to talk me out of that shot, he's got to have good, valid points and reasons for why he thinks it should be something else. And if it doesn't go well, there's no revisionist history. There's no, hey, like I said, we should know.
I told you so.
Yeah, no, that's not going to help anybody. And communication is extremely key. I want everything to be elevated positively. If I hit a okay shot, guess what? It's a good shot. If I hit a good shot, it's a great shot. Because doing that just builds my confidence. He's not allowed to say the word way. There's no, it went way left, it went way right. You just tell me it's left or it's right. Saying way is not going to benefit me.
Because it puts a value judgment on the direction. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, because if it's 10 yards left or 40 yards left, just say it's left. And to be honest, I can feel it when I make impact how far left it's probably going. It's rare for me to be shocked that I hit a horrible shot if I thought it was good. So if he says way, it's kind of kicking me while I'm down. It's like you're gonna go
trudge through the rough and figure it out anyway.
Yeah. But he likes to say that it's a lose-lose.
Knee high in the weeds looking for your ball.
I'm imagining me being blind, hitting it off the tee. You go, it's left, and 5 minutes later, you got no idea where my ball is.
Yeah, we have.
That's why my dad says it's a lose-lose. He says, you know, if I hit it left and he says left, but then we go and my ball's lost, then I'm mad at him because, well, what do you mean? You said it was just a little left, or he says, but I kind of on the same line. He's not allowed to say hook or slice. Same kind of thing. Like if it's drawing, maybe it's drawing a little further than we want, or it's fading a little further, but hook and slice are not terms that are going to help my confidence level on the golf course. So if those are things that you need
for people that are not golfing a lot, right? Hook versus a hook and a slice versus a draw and a fade are more so, from my standpoint, more so about like the intentionality in the shot, right?
I mean,
Whether
a hook
you
and a slice have like
purposefully have
90
that shot,
degrees
gonna go to the right.
turns. A hook is going for a right-handed golfer 90 degrees left. A slice is going 90 degrees right. A fade and a draw is a lot more gentler than that. And I might hit a hook, but my dad cannot say it's a hook. He can say it's drawing, and maybe it's drawing a little too much, but he's not allowed to have those words in his vocabulary when we're on the golf course. If he said it like that, I would leave him on the tee, and you wouldn't hear from him again.
I like that concept a lot. Give me the information that I need. Don't give me more information than what I need. That's a real challenge for a lot of analytical people who really like to have the info, really want to have the info. I'm sure in your case, it didn't take long to figure out, hey, I don't like it when you tell me there's water and I can't stop thinking about the water. But in business, I think we do it to ourselves as leaders all the time, and we don't know because the results are not as obvious and instant as hitting the ball into the water. Right.
Yeah.
It is. Well, here's all the ways that this product could fail. Here are all the ways that this, we could suffer economically this quarter. Here are all the ways that this could just not work out. And we outline every single risk. And in some cases, like, yeah, well, it's good to talk about it, I guess. I don't want to not know the risks.
Well, I think there's a difference between introducing specific facts that somebody needs to make a good decision and introducing facts that are going to cause them to move to an emotional state where the decision-making gets worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people want to get all of that information, and some people who are legally blind or blind might be on the course and that's what they want to know. But for me, I've learned that I play better golf when I don't know all of that information. But some people out there, if they like it, like you said, Singer, if they like having all the information and it helps them, then that's what they should do. But you kind of need to learn what works best for you.
Yeah.
When clients will talk about, you think we're going to go into a recession.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
yeah,
I don't know how that. Yeah, probably.
Sure.
I just got. Yeah, sure. I'm not going to lament over it. Because that's not helping in your decision making. If we dwell on, put a bunch of fear into your head that the whole world's going to hell in a handbasket. It's that's not good for your decision making framework.
Yeah, I think that's the best example to the water is to say, well, what if we go into a recession? Well, we could go into a recession. We could go into a recession at any point this year. This year we could go into a recession. Well, geez, I mean, you could also hit it into the water, and you know what? Even on a hole that doesn't have any water, I guess you could hit it into the woods or the parking lot or the wherever. Right. You could yank it off somewhere too, and the point being, I guess, is that if it goes bad, it's going to be bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What is that going to, but focusing on how bad it could go is not going to help us make things go right. And it's not going to help us focus on the things that we can control.
I heard a good example of that. Somebody was talking about, well, do you think Congress is going to pass this new tax legislation or whatever they were going to, whatever thing they were going to pass. And so what I said was, imagine you're playing a baseball game and in the seventh inning, they're going to come in and the rules are going to change. You don't know what those rules are going to be, but they're going to be different, but we don't know yet. We're in inning one. What would you do? Well, the answer is you would do nothing different. You would play the best baseball you can, play by the rules, and then when those rules change, you adapt and you play based on those rules.
Yeah,
and so I
cross
said,
that bridge when you get to it.
Yeah, we're not going to know, and we don't know. So let's play by the fundamental rules we know now. This is how we'll do it. As long as we're not making irrevocable decisions, just play by these rules. But just don't make any irrevocable decisions. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What other decisions do you and your dad have to work through that are important to having a successful round of golf?
I think it's like playing good golf and shooting low scores is sometimes boring, but boring is good.
We wouldn't know anything about that.
Yeah, I wouldn't know.
Yeah. And what I mean by that is if you're 260 yards out and your 3-wood isn't going to get there, a lot of people will pull out 3-wood and hit it as hard and as far as they can and then put themselves in trouble and then make a much larger score than they could have or
So
should have.
why does that put them in trouble? Because the long distance gives you more potential
they're trying to make a
move
240-yard club go 260 yards.
Yeah, and if you're somebody who hits your 3-wood straight, then that's fine. But I see so many amateurs pull out a 3-wood because they're, that's the longest club they can hit from the fairway, and they're going to try to rip it and get it as close to the green as possible. If you hit it straight, I'm not knocking that. But if you don't, my thought process is, okay, you're not going to get it to the green. What's the best shot you can hit to leave yourself a third shot that is a comfortable number for you that you'll then put on the green and maybe get close to the hole? So it's really minimizing your mistakes as much as humanly possible. Let's say I have a chip shot and it's over a bunker and there's only 5 paces from where the green starts to where the flag is, but then there's another 20 paces behind the flag. Well, some people will stand over that shot, chipping over the bunker, and think, I'm going to land this soft right over the bunker and it's going to trickle to the hole. That's a great thought. But if you put 10 balls down, how many times are you going to actually pull that shot off? And if I'm not going to pull that shot off a majority of the time, I'm going to really be thinking about landing the ball at the flag or a little beyond it so I have a guaranteed putt.
So it's a less risky brand of golf, right?
It's a less risky brand of golf, but that's the difference between shooting a 79 and an 83. That's the difference between shooting in the 80s or in the 90s. It's managing your misses. It's course management and knowing, and that's, to me, that's what the decision making is. I feel like I could shave strokes off both of your games if I didn't even hit a shot and I sat in the cart with you and just told you what club to play, how to play it, where to aim. And you might say, I'm going to hit the 3 when I say, nope, you're going to hit a 5-iron. What? Why would I hit a 5? You're just going to hit a 5-iron. And I think a lot of people are
the boring, do the simple.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is a lot of people see 4 on the scorecard and they think, I got to make a 4. Well, if you're a very novice golfer, you should almost sometimes just play it as it's a 5. And if you play par 4s as if they were par 5s, how interesting your mindset and mentality shifts just by that number changing. But the hole hasn't changed at all. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because I'm letting someone else tell me what I should do, right? So I've already had my expectations set, and those expectations are for someone with a lot more practice and experience than me. That shouldn't be my expectation. That's so right. Like, it doesn't matter how bad I do. If I show up to a par 4, I'm like, all right, I got to get it to my second shot needs to be going onto the green.
Right.
And then I'm not doing that.
I have used an example similar to that in decision making when it comes to investment planning. And there was a friend of mine who had taken some golf lessons, and he said after the first of the coach said, all right, I want you to go play a round of golf and then come back and we'll talk about it. And so he goes and he plays, and 3 hours or whatever, he comes back and the guy says, so all right, tell me about your round. He goes, oh, it's great. Had a good time, good weather, felt good. And he goes, what? He goes, that's bullshit. Don't give me that kind of analysis. What did you hit on the first one? What was your score? What was, how many birdies did you get? How many he was like really digging into the numbers, and he goes, oh, this is a different level of analysis that I'm used to. And he goes, that's what I'm doing here. And the advice this guy said, he goes, all right, so how you play a good round of golf is not hitting, killing it off the tee or hitting this massive shot with your 3-wood. He goes, that's not how you have a good round. How you have a good round is simply not being in the weeds.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't get in the weeds.
Yeah.
And I took that analogy and started talking to clients about that when, looking at building investment plans and things like that. And I said, all we're trying to do with this investment model here and this approach to goal achievement is not hitting in the weeds. We're just trying to not have you, fall off course and not meet your goal, because we're just trying to meet the goal. And that seemed to resonate when we started talking about decision making as it relates to investments, and seemed to really make a lot of sense to a lot of people.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. I think on the point we were talking about with the numbers on the scorecard, if you're playing a par 72 And if you've never broken 90 before, like go into the scorecard and just add 1 to every par. If you approached every par 4 as a par 5, par 5 as a par 6, par 3 as a par 4, like treat it like that and try. And if you do that, like that par is now a 90. So there's going to be par 4s where you make a 4, but you wrote down 5 as what the par is. But
it's so funny,
I feel like that's going to help people a lot.
That's like the entire point of the handicap. And you had to explain it like I'm 5 years old for me to get it. To go, oh,
that's how we have to do it with you, Sanger. We're doing our best.
There we go.
At least you've caught on.
I mean,
took you that long to catch on too, but it's okay.
But you got it. You're there. All right.
Yeah, I'm proud of you. Yeah,
thank you. All right, so I'm adding 3 strokes to every hole.
Yeah, so that puts you at a 9 on every hole, something like that. Yeah, something like
there you go.
I'm not that bad.
No, I know you're not that bad. I know you've broken 90.
Maybe, I don't know.
Okay.
I think you're very optimistic. I appreciate that.
I thought we said through 13 holes you did.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there you go.
So Jeremy, you are not playing golf every day. You're out speaking and talking with people, and
golf and blind golf is like the hobby and the passion, and definitely helps make the story better. I play in the national championship almost every year. There's a world championship every other year. This year, the USGA announced a new tournament. It's the Adaptive Open Championship. And the inaugural was in Pinehurst this year. And it was last month. And I competed in that, which was amazing. By far the coolest tournament I've ever played in. But yeah, I'm an inspirational speaker, and I do that full time. And really, I speak at a number of events per month. Try to do the events that I can add value, where I can inspire folks, educate, and entertain them, and have a good time while doing it. I just plant seeds, right? I plant seeds of ideas, key takeaways, thoughts, and ideas, and then they need to water those seeds, and hopefully they can sprout and change their lives in some way.
How can people get a hold of you?
I'm pretty accessible on LinkedIn, on Instagram. My website is my full name, jeremypoincenot.com. My email is jeremy@jeremypoincenot.com. And I share a bi-weekly, every other week newsletter that's called Points of Perspective. And it's just little quips, little stories that are things that I think provide perspective for people, and little things that I find interesting that are 500 words or less. Just every other Tuesday they come out, and it's just a way to kind of make people think about things a little differently.
Hey, thanks for talking to us, taking time out.
Absolutely.
It was good to see you again and talk to you again.
Yeah, likewise.
I'll keep you updated on how Sanger and I do with our with our golf. I shoot you a text every now and then and tell you when we have a good.
Dude, I've been practicing like so much. Like between the last 12 months, I've probably played more golf than I did my entire life. And I think I first started when I was like 8, maybe 9, at least no older than 9. Cause I remember going on a trip to New Mexico with my grandparents, and we played golf there. And I remember I was 9. So like I had the benefit of learning kind of how to swing.
Yeah.
Right. Early, and not having to pick it up when I'm, 30, and then it's awkward and you kind of never really learn. But I've focused so much on the stuff like that you taught Sean, just listening to people, trying to dissect off YouTube. I've done everything but hire a real coach, which might be my problem. And my scores, they're not any better. I just don't have the penalties. Like I don't completely screw it up.
Yeah, you're not embarrassing yourself.
I'm not embarrassing myself. I hit the ball and it goes in the direction that I was aiming. Meaning it doesn't go behind me, which is one risk that I had playing, a few years ago.
I had that, when I was in high school, I worked at a golf shop. So this is my first exposure to golf. I'm working this golf shop, and I'm, like a sophomore in high school, and I don't know anything. And the perk was that once the last member was off the course, we could play until we couldn't see anymore. So we could squeeze in maybe 4 holes at this, premier club in Fort Worth.
Cool.
And so the last one of these days I said, all right, I'm going to play, so I got some old clubs from a garage sale or something like that. And I'm going to play. And I was very excited. And so the last member came in. all right, so I could grab a cart. I grabbed a cart and I'm at the first hole, but there's members there, right?
Geez.
I mean, people are still kind of milling around because it's right by the clubhouse.
Yeah.
And so I tee up. I should have just driven to like the second hole or something like that, but I didn't know what I was doing. So I tee up and I'm trying to hit this ball. This ball goes through my legs behind me, hits the golf cart, bounces straight up, bounces again on the concrete, and all these these members are scattering.
Oh gosh.
I just took the ball. I just left. I'm like, maybe another day.
Oh,
maybe I shouldn't be practicing on the first hole. It was so embarrassing.
So we're past that point.
Yeah,
that's our golf journey.
I'm past that. I'm past that.
Anymore.
I don't do that. Yeah,
Sanger, I think you not seeing a coach yet is like your clients trying to do investments on their own and expecting results.
See,
I knew that was coming. As soon as you said it, said it.
I mean, that is true.
If you want results, if you're just going to have fun,
I just tell myself I don't want to get better.
That's fine. If that's
I mean,
what
I
you
am
want,
having fun. I mean, I'm not going to win anything. I'm dinking around.
Yeah, we're actually in Sanger's new studio that looks out over the golf course. So it is beautiful.
We play it every week.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
That's awesome. That's way cool. Well, if you want to beat Pops, I mean, getting a lesson here or there. I think
easy. I already do that.
Oh, then you're chilling. But a simple lesson goes a long way. And a lot of people want to spend money on the newest driver because they think it's going to get them 20 more yards. But honestly, that money is better to go to a pro to get a lesson. And then it's really, to me, just making sure your technical stuff is good. And then course management. If you have those things, then you can get to be pretty good.
It's the course management thing that's challenging.
That's where we really don't know what we're doing.
We don't know if we're hitting a 5-iron or a 7-iron or whatever.
I'm winging it.
Usually we will play holes where we'll take a shot from the same spot and we'll be 2 club lengths different on our what we think.
Yeah.
Sure. I don't know.
The biggest challenge that I'll have is the decision making on club selection, because I'll feel like I understand. Oh, I should be hitting this club about this far. I should hit my 9-iron 110 yards or whatever it is, and then next week I'll go play and I'm like, oh, I'm 110 yards out. Let me pull out the 9-iron. This shot was made for the 9-iron. Take it out, and I'm 20 yards short. And I feel like I hit the ball perfect, or I'm 30 yards long. And I'm like, I don't know. Was it the wind? Was it like it's not windy? It's not uphill. What's going on?
It's probably the inconsistency of the strike.
So one day we'll figure that out. You're correct. I now have no excuse to not get a coach.
If you want it, that's what you want. If you don't want it, then it's not necessary. But if you're like, you know what, like I do want some answers to this, a coach will help you out a lot.
I want to be able to know what advice to not take, because I see so much crap on YouTube or, just any social media. I get golf stuff everywhere. And there's always some guy with some tip that looks completely different from the last guy's tip. Yeah.
And that's a little bit like what we talked about earlier of too much information.
Oh, and I probably took Jeremy's tip and screwed it up.
I'm sure you would die inside if you saw.
You'd probably correct whatever I was doing. I'm like, no, this is what Jeremy told me. And you'd look at that and go, I did not tell you to do that.
Based on what you said, I'm like, wait, what? I don't think I told you to face the target when you hit the shot.
Well, no, you probably didn't. But
I'm nervous. No. If I come see you again and you're like, this is what you taught me, and you chip a certain way that's not at all how I taught you, I'm gonna.
I tell you what, I won't tell anybody. I won't tell anybody else. It came from you.
Only if you hit a good shot. If you chip it close,
I don't want to sully your name.
Yeah,
I won't tell anybody.
Yeah, only if it works. We'll reveal afterwards whether it's something that we got from Jeremy or we just totally made up on our own.
Yeah,
please do. Please, thank you. It's just for my reputation, please.
Yeah.
Right.
My takeaway from our discussion with Jeremy is really about minimizing the distractions and focusing on what your decision really needs to be. He was talking about how when he's looking at hitting a shot, how he has his dad not tell him about, here's the lake over here, here's the tree over here, here's the bunker before the hole, but just focusing on the decision he has to make, what he has to accomplish, and not focusing on what he has to not do. And so I thought that was an interesting takeaway.
Yeah, I agree. My biggest takeaway from our conversation was when Jeremy talked about high scoring golf, elite golf is boring. And what he meant is that you've got to minimize the risk-taking behavior, the high-risk shots to hit low scores. And that's true with everything. I mean, that's true with meeting your financial goals. That's true with being an elite quarterback. Like Tom Brady's not known for the 65-yard bombs. He's known for the 8-yard short pass. And if we apply that in the areas that we're really looking to be elite and be at the top of our game, I think we would eliminate a lot of fancy shots, fancy investments, long throws, and avoid a lot of heartbreak, injury, and big mistakes.
You just made a great decision to listen to this episode of Decidedly. Make another great decision and leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to podcasts. We appreciate your support. It helps others find our community and defeat bad decision-making in their own lives. For more daily decision-making insights, check us out at decidedlypodcast.com and on Facebook and Instagram at decidedlypodcast. Thanks again for listening. I'm Sanger Smith, and this is Decidedly.
Insights, advice, and comments provided by Sean Smith, Sanger Smith, and speakers identified as part of the Decidedly podcast should not be considered recommendations. Speakers not identified as members of Decidedly are expressing their opinion, and their statements should not be construed as reflecting the views of the Decidedly team. This podcast is produced solely for informational purposes, not personalized advice.